What can I say about Congress? A lot, actually. Congress is split into two chambers, upper and lower, the Senate and the House of Representatives. It has a total of 535 members, 435 of which are from the House, and the other 100 are from the Senate. But all this is just basics. Let's jump into it, starting with the House. The House of Representatives is the proportional part of Congress. That is why there's so many members. They have slightly different powers and conditions to the Senate, such as, to join the House you must be at least 25 years old, be a US citizen for more than 7 years, and live in the state that you represent. Most of the time, it is actually the district that you represent. If you satisfy all of these, you can then be in the House. But how do you actually get into the House? Well, if you live in Louisiana or Washington, it is slightly different from the rest of the states, but we'll get into that. Normally it is first past the post, fairly simple and involves voting for whomever you like, and the winner is the person with the most votes. Some states will operate a two-stage system, whereas if someone doesn't reach the required votes, there will be runoffs until a winner is found. This is the voting style of Louisiana and Washington. The elections are held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Turnout for these are normally really low, about 33% at the midterms and about 50% on the president's term. So I guess nobody really cares, or that they just don't know how and when to vote, I don't know. But if someone dies in the House, then another election is held, simple as that. The last two things about the House I'm going to say is that 1, there are 4 non-voting members. 1 from the District of Columbia, aka DC, Guam, Virgin Islands, and America Samoa. There is also 1 commissioner from Puerto Rico. The very last thing about the powers of the House is the House can initiate and pass legislation, but it also has to go through the Senate. Introduce bills for the purpose of raising revenue. Elect the president if the Electoral College is tied. Write the charges, which have to be accepted by the Senate if there is any impeachment, and declare war with the Senate. So to the Senate is not proportional to the population. It works on the idea that every state is equal, and that is why there has to be 2 members per state, totaling 100 members. So to be a senator, you must be at least 30 years old, be a US citizen for 9 years, and live in the state that you represent. However, a lot of senators might have a second house in Washington, DC. If you meet all these conditions, you can now be a senator. But how do you get elected? It's very similar to the elections for the House, normally done by first past the post. However, Louisiana and Washington have runoffs. As with the House, the elections are done on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Now the Senate is weird in the sense that the elections are held every 2 years, but each member serves for 6 years. The Senate is split into thirds, and only a third of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years. It helps as it reduces any swing of public opinion. If a member dies, instead of having a re-election like the House, the governor of the state will nominate someone to take their place. Normally it's their significant other. But maybe, if you become good friends with the governor, just maybe, it could be you. Now all we need to do is make a senator disappear. Never mind. The Senate have slightly different powers to the House. Such powers as initiating and passing legislation with the House, giving advice and consent to the president on important matters, like when he's choosing his cabinet or judges, ratify treaties, meaning making them legally binding, elect the vice president if the Electoral College is tied, conduct the trial if there is any kind of impeachment, and declare war with the House. So that is the Senate, and therefore that is Congress. Stay tuned for the Supreme Court. See you there.